I want to quickly set the context for this conversation. Late last year, a tragic incident in Novi Sad led to a wave of student-led protests across Serbia. The demonstrations called for accountability and reform and sparked a national debate about responsibility, transparency, and the role of civic voices. One of the people who spoke up in the support of the protesters was Nenad Milanović, a Serbian-born tech entrepreneur and founder of Cake.com, based in the US. Soon after publicly pledging support and a donation to the student movement, Cake.com became the target of a large-scale cyber attack. Nenad has since spoken out publicly, calling what happened an act of censorship and accusing the Serbian government of orchestrating the attack. What followed was a cascade of media attention, public statements, and rising tension between a founder using his platform and the institutions he challenged. This conversation is about what happened, why it matters, and what it means to be a tech leader when your values are tested. So let's get into it. Nenad, come on stage. All right,
Test.
test. We're good.
Jigerica, ta.
Nenad, let's start from the beginning. What moved you to speak out after the events in Serbia last year?
Well, I mean, I have to correct you. I was born in Croatia. Spent first 5 years here, then moved to Serbia when the war shit happened. So I grew up in Novi Sad, and that was my hometown. I've spent probably like 16 years there before decided to explore the U.S. So anyway, one of the people that died in that accident was actually the guy I knew, from university. So that is kind of a personal trigger, I would say. So plus the fact that I lived in that city, So anyway, I'm not sure how people in Europe are informed about this because kind of government counter propaganda machinery works quite well, and kind of shutting the voices, and making sure that information doesn't get out of Serbia. They're pretty good at that. But yeah, I guess, I mean, that was obviously a product of corruption, like government grifters getting construction jobs and then doing them quite poorly, and then you had the whole chain of inspectors, and kind of people who should be policing quality, of execution and operations, and those people just didn't do their job, and then we had the collapse of a very public building, that killed 16 people, a bunch of kids as well. It's very easy to connect that to pretty much the top of the government, It's not like some middle management mistake. It's something that came from the top, and that spread through to the bottom, like of society, through over the course of 12 years of government of ruling government to Aleksandar Vučić. Yeah. So anyway, any other questions?
Well, you kind of set the context of what actually happened, but let's talk about your response and the donation. So you obviously, moved by that, made some statements publicly. So can you just walk us through the series of events that followed?
Yeah, sure. So anyway, when the accident happened, there was protest in Novi Sad, which were kind of opposition-led. And then some students in Belgrade started protesting, but however, they were pretty much attacked by kind of government paid hooligans, to kind of try to scare them not to do that. But that backfired, and then students got organized, and they started actually implementing large-scale blockades of universities. And all that was happening, and I wasn't really paying that much attention, but at some point, it was obvious that these guys are serious and that that they need help, So the first thing I did, I basically just publicly said as a business guy, in Serbia, I said that I'm going to financially support them. That wasn't like a big amount, it was like $20,000 bucks, but it was enough to feed a lot of students for a couple of weeks, So anyway, as soon as I made that statement, which was I think it was Sunday, Sunday around like 2 a.m., like local time. I was in California at the time. And then like literally like 5 hours later, denial of service attack started against our online assets. We have like 3 products, SaaS products, and they were all like under a denial of service attack of the scale that we haven't seen before that.
Nenad, did you expect a backlash like that?
No, I mean, I was like, to be honest, like I never expected that some government like that is not in Middle East or like in Asia would actually like do some shit like that, you know? So that was like shocking to me. So anyway, we had like a denial of service attack that started at 7 a.m. Sunday. It stopped by 9 p.m. that same day. You know, we were kind of, I mean, we had like good systems in place. Stuff like that happened before, like, but not at this scale, you know. And the timing was like totally obviously pointing to that it was government sponsored, you know. And then next morning, a bunch of opposition media outlets, like basically published the news where they said that I donated money to students, you know. So all of a sudden that became like a very visible thing. And then someone posted that like on our company chat, and as soon as I saw the article, I was like, okay guys, get ready for another round of shit, because like it's coming for sure. And then like two hours later, like we started getting another like denial of service attack that didn't stop for a couple of days, you know. And then it stopped at some point. I guess government actors kind of finally realized that they're not attacking a Serbian company, that they're actually attacking an American company, you know, and someone who's based in the US, you know. That dramatically kind of shifted their plans, I would say, so.
At what point, I mean, obviously, you realized it's an orchestrated attack very early on, but at what point you were, okay, this makes kind of sense that the Serbian authorities are actually orchestrating that, and what kind of proof do you have of that being so?
I mean, technically, I can't really talk about technical proof because this is something that is, I mean, all of this stuff is actually written in a federal lawsuit, you know, that I keep in my drawer, you know, and that I'm going to file at some point. I'm just waiting for the moment to see, like, when is that going to happen. So this is going to all end, like, all of this is going to get, like, this is going to all end up in court, pretty much. So I can't really talk about the details, but I can say that there's, like, a bunch of material evidence, you know, that can connect the government with this. And the timing of it was just, like, very indicative, you know. Like, we have logs for, like, many years of operations that don't show any significant attacks of this kind, you know, and then like all of a sudden, like the timing of my statements, like, is highly coinciding with this, you know. That's pretty much enough without me going into material evidence, you know. So.
But this sorts of stuff is happening to other companies,
yeah.
websites in Serbia, and in your opinion, like, how vulnerable are, I mean, in this case, SaaS businesses, but any kind of tech companies when founders are speaking out?
Well, I mean, it depends where you're based, you know. If you're based in Serbia, like, as a company, like, legally based, you know, and having everything there, like, then you're way more vulnerable, right? But if you're, like, a company that's incorporated somewhere else, obviously they have, like, less ways to, like, do criminal stuff like that without consequences, you know. So obviously, like, it takes way more bravery, you know, to do that if you're, like, there. But, I mean, more than half of my workforce is there as well, you know, so it's not insignificant risk, and it's actually a big risk, you know. So you have to kind of develop all these procedures, like how are we going to act if we get raided, you know, and if we get, like, equipment seized, you know. They can do all that stuff, and they do that, you know. So you have to have, like, really, really carefully laid out plans, like how are you going to protect yourself and kind of restart the operation once it gets disrupted in such way. So.
Nenad, maybe on that point, with this public statement coming out and with the harsh accusations against an authority like that, obviously you have, what, 200 people in Serbia, or?
I mean, we have more than 500 people, and I believe that there's, like, more than 300 in Serbia. So that's, like, more than half, yeah.
So in that light, having that many employees in Serbia, like, what crossed your mind when speaking out? Did you think about, like, what kind of consequences that could lead to your team as well, and how are you kind of managing this situation right now?
Well, I mean, obviously, yeah, I was kind of afraid that certain people might be, like, attacked. Like, I mean, these guys, like, they have, like, many creative ways how they can get people, you know. and they don't need a lot of reasons. Like in a country where there's no like judiciary system that is functional, like government can pretty much do whatever they want. Like they can jail people like without any due process. They can just do whatever, you know. So like the imagination that they can pretty much extrapolate into real world, it's unlimited, you know. So yeah, but I mean, the way you can handle that is basically just taking all the responsibility, you know, and making sure that no one else has to speak like publicly about anything. Like they need one target, you know. They don't need 10 targets. So I mean, I was just making sure that I'm the target. So.
Why does this matter? I mean, obviously you have, there is a more argument of speaking up, but can you say a little bit more about like why founders should do that in general? Do you think, are you encouraging founders to do it more often, or do you think there are risks that they should think about and weigh in speaking out?
Yeah, I definitely believe that if I don't think that silence is gold, you know. Like I believe quite the opposite, you know, and censorship and just remaining quiet to kind of keep things like low risk. I think that's like highly counterproductive for kind of individual freedoms. So yeah, I believe that approach would basically lead the entire world to absolute government rule everywhere. I mean, the nature of the government in general is to kind of establish more authority, you know. Like each government tries to do that organically until people stop them, you know. If there's like no resistance from the people, like governments are just going to become Hitler in the end, you know. Like that's like their natural kind of trajectory always, you know. So yeah, I believe that. I mean, I believe that government should be kind of small and not obstructive and not interfering in things. So if you don't act in manner that I and many other folks in Serbia chose, you know, like we just wouldn't come to this point where we have this guy who's almost done and who's about to go to jail. Yeah, so.
You've been a big proponent of tech freedom even before this publicly speaking out and actually having this incident. Why does tech freedom matter in general, and what should founders do about it? Like, how do I actually use my voice for it?
I don't know, man. I mean, I think that there's like a lot of ways you can do that. You know, I don't think anyone needs my advice on that. Like, there's like, I mean, each country has their own specifics, you know, and their own problems, you know, and no one knows that better than people who live there. You know, even you guys who live in Croatia, like, you are geographically in quite close, you know, but knowing what's really going on, it's quite difficult, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think that like everyone should focus on kind of their geography of expertise, you know, and figure out what they should do and to keep things in check. I mean, every country has its problems, right? So nothing is perfect, nowhere is perfect. Like some places are better than the other, but in general, like we should not forget like how easy it is to lose these things. Like you have to keep the pressure up all the time and keep the resistance all the time because like it can flip in a second, you know. So, I mean, there's also one interesting thing. I mean, why people should, I mean, I thought that like this is all impossible, you know, and then when this started happening, you know, I started like getting a lot of communication from the government, like where they tried to shut me down, you know, like basically like threatening me and kind of trying to show me like what kind of consequences I can face, you know, and how they can watch me and all that stuff. So they actually like showed me certain things that only kind of my employees would be able to kind of know, you know, and that's when we discovered like 2 government spies within the company that were planted pretty much years in advance, you know. I mean, I was the guy who showed like many years ago that I'm against this government, you know. They were just not something that I supported, you know, and they knew that, and they planted like, I mean, when you have like 500-600 employees, like, there's no way, like, there's not like assets there, you know. So I kind of thought that this is like science fiction, kind of some kind of Bond movies, you know.
How did you find out?
Like I said, like some government officials, like basically like, tried to scare me, you know, and they sent me some materials that would tell me that they see what's up in my company, you know, and pretty much we used that data to basically do an investigation internally and discover who the perpetrators are, you know. So we discovered like for one guy, we have like material evidence that he was a government spy. I mean, probably still is. This is another federal lawsuit that is sitting in my drawer. And the other guy, for the other guy, we didn't have material evidence, you know, but we have like a lot of circumstantial evidence that this guy is was the government asset as well. Of course, like there can be more, you know. We're not sure like if there's like more spies within the company, you know. But I guess when the government flips, we're going to be able to run some court process like to see like if there's anything else we can do there. So yeah, I mean, like I said, that kind of stuff, that's like shit that you would see in like movies, you know, and think that that's only in the movies, you know. And then it happens to you, you know, and then your whole perspective of like how things work comes down crashing, you know, and then you kind of completely flip like the world views, you know, and at that moment I kind of realized like how deep Serbia went into problems, you know, and how far we did let this guy go without any meaningful resistance, you know. So, and that is a mistake of all of us, you know, that we allowed ourselves to kind of basically keep the principles, you know, that were very ancient and part of the communism era of this area, you know, that was where you were mainly taught that you should keep quiet, you know, because you're going to end up in that island thing, right? Alcatraz of Yugoslavia, right? So yeah, I mean, that kind of attitude and behavior brought us where we are today, you know. And if we let that happen again, we should disappear, you know. Like we should be punished as a nation. Like Serbians shouldn't exist, you know. If we allow ourselves to let some asshole, you know, build this kind of machinery again, you know. So
obviously, you're not the only one speaking out, and there has been a big diaspora movement as well. There was protests in San Francisco. Can you talk a little bit about that? What was the response of the Serbian diaspora, and how does that help?
Well, it's not only San Francisco. There's like a bunch of groups all over the world that are quite active in their communities. So I think that the people in the U.S., like Serbian people in the U.S., were most active because like it's the culture of the U.S., you know, like it's cool to be political, you know. It's not like not cool to be political. Like if you're saying that you're not political, you're typically frowned upon, you know. Like that's not something to brag about, you know. If you're not political, like you're perceived as stupid, you know. So, and that kind of grew into us as well, Serbians who live in the U.S. And pretty much every city organized their own like local efforts, you know. And there's like hundreds of people who are actually working very passionately and actively against this evil that is happening in Serbia right now, you know, in many different ways. So political lobbying, basically propaganda, counters, kind of writing to representatives. Like there's a lot of people are doing. Like protest is just like one small thing that people are doing there. There's a bunch of back-end stuff that are not visible that people are doing, including me. You know, I spoke with Congress people, with senators, to basically explain to them like what's going on, and to not let Vučić basically just kind of spread lies in like diplomatic circles. You know, he's basically telling to the U.S. that like what's happening in Serbia is like Russian-led initiative, you know, and then like to Russians he's saying that like that's Europe and the U.S.-led initiative. So it's just like this guy is like just like insane, you know, like just crazy what he's doing. And so if you let that just all keep like unfolding, like it's just gonna go even further, you know. So yeah, like I said, a lot of activities, and I would say, I mean, I'm not afraid to admit that group of friends from the Bay Area, like where I live, they were the main driver of fundraise efforts for students, you know. They deployed more than like 200,000 for various needs that they have. So I would say that diaspora had probably the key role when it comes to funding the student protest. But it's not like funded by Putin, you know, or like deep state in the US. No, it's funded by Serbians who live there. So, although like he's going to say something completely different. So.
Right. Looking back, and obviously maybe one more question. Well, how does this affect you personally? You're leading a huge company and you're in the midst of a political struggle and you're trying to help. How does this affect you personally, your personal life, family, and people around you?
I mean, it wasn't me, like the fact that I'm leading this business, you know, that doesn't matter, you know. So how it affected anyone who cares was that you just like couldn't get off social media, like not for days, but for months, you know. Like this thing started in like November last year, you know, and I don't think I got off social media like usage for like 16 hours a day, you know, for months. So it's like a total distraction, like you just can't do anything. This is all you think about, you know. So, I mean, I wish I was able to kind of disconnect and just not care, you know, but I just couldn't. So yeah, it affected like me and like my ability to focus on anything. It just like completely was gone. You know, I just couldn't focus on anything other than this stuff. Like this became my full-time job, you know. And I'm happy I did it because I believe that a lot of people who took action like helped, you know, things going into better direction and where we see the kind of end to this evil and where we see kind of high probability of things changing within months.
So what's next? Obviously, this moment happened and it's still ongoing. The protests are ongoing. You mentioned lawsuits. Like, what is next for you, your company, and what do you think will happen?
I mean, the good thing is like that our business is totally unaffected by this, you know. Even that denial of service attack, like that just wasn't like, didn't even phase us. We have like systems in place who take care of stuff like that. It costs money, you know, to defend, but like that, it didn't affect the reputation. You know, there was no reputational risk. Yeah, business kept as usual. You know, we don't make any money from Serbia, so even if like people got like divided and like someone decided not to buy from us, like that wouldn't affect us. You know, it's just like we are very geographically diversified business. So what's going on in one country like doesn't really affect us. So like I said, business as usual. Most people were able to continue working normally. A lot of folks were just kind of very active in protest, you know, and taking days off and like getting days off. To kind of participate in the kind of this effort, but other than that, like we were lucky that we haven't seen consequences other to our hiring process, because now we have to analyze every person from the perspective whether they're like a new James Bond or not, right? So that kind of disrupted our hiring, but that's going to come back to normal as soon as this guy's out. So.
All right. We're going to open it up for a couple of questions from the audience. So we already have a hand raised over there, so we can start from there.
Hi, Nenad. Thank you for sharing these inspiring thoughts of like fighting back a corrupt state. I'm coming from Bulgaria, and European Union hasn't helped at all. We had a tech company being raided because it sponsored the opposition. Something that I want to tell you, what we have learned a few years down the road, is that even when you flip a corrupt government and you try to put new faces in place, they either manage to see what they have done to you. When you try to get in politics, it gets 10 times worse. So they either convert them with threats, with money, with whatever it takes, or they eliminate them. So the only chance is for people to actually get their hands dirty. I'm not saying that you should be the next candidate for Serbian president, but you should think in that optics.
That's what's up. Yeah, they're getting, like, students are going to run the country. Like, they're going to create a party. They're in the process. They're going to run, and everyone's going to vote for them. We're going to be the first country in the world. They're going to be run. They're going to be, yeah. Serbia is going to be run by 20-year-olds. Like, that's going to be crazy, but I'm sure it's going to be better than what we have now. So,
good luck with that. I really hope you guys succeed.
It's going to work out.
Good question over there.
Hi, Nenad. Thanks for sharing. So you said you got this incredible attack after you said you will donate, what, 20K to the students? And I know that some other IT companies in Serbia also had issues when they kind of supported students in public. So what I'm kind of interested in is like, why is the government like so scared of this IT sector? Like, why are they spying? Why are they like trying to scare you off? Like, what's the deal? Like, is it like, are they afraid that you can offer like financial support? Do you have such a big reach to reach people and say that they are bad? What's the real reason that the government wants to control the IT sector in Serbia and to scare everybody?
Yeah, I mean, they don't want to control IT sector per se. They want to control everything, you know. So we're just one of everything, and coincidentally, there's a lot of money there, you know. So they're afraid of they're afraid of money. So the reason that they were able to kind of keep this state for like 12 years was with money, you know. So and the fact like that there's no like assets. These businesses are not assets heavy. Like you don't have like trucks, buildings, or like machinery that can be sabotaged, you know? Like it's easy to kind of restart the operation somewhere else. You only need to like go to a different country and buy a laptop, you know? So that's like very difficult to crack, right? And also there's money again. So like I said, they control everything, but they had like least control in IT because of that resilience that was there by design, you know? So yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that they, now looking back, I'm not surprised that they invested into having assets in our company for that much time in advance, you know? I mean, they were paying for someone like more than 2 years, like to basically spy for them within our company, so. Any other questions?
Thank you for your presentation. Yeah, it was great to hear about.
Great slides, huh?
Yeah, great slides. Yeah, I'm from a company called Go Vocal. So our mission is like to promote democracy all over the world, which is interesting because Novi Sad has been our client since 2021, and they actually had really amazing projects in engaging citizens in decisions, like from building, I don't know, parks, urban planning, etc. And they're planning to renew a contract in 6 months with us through consultants. So my question is like, is there still like people that actually care in the government, like about their residents, or?
Man, that is all optics. Whatever they hired you guys for, they didn't implement any of that stuff, you know. So I don't know. Like, I don't know what to tell you about that. Like, I mean, every government tries to pretend that they're like democratic or whatever, but like, you actually have to live in Serbia like to really understand what's up, you know. So if you haven't spent there like at least a year, try to get like documents done or like get something done, like you wouldn't know how it is, you know. Or if you got beat up in the parking lot because of the parking spot, like try go to the police and report that, see what happens, you know. So until that happens to you, like, you know, don't observe like these kind of optical moments of oh, we have some project that's gonna enable more transparency. That's all bullshit. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean there's social proof online, like citizens actually engaged, but I'm not sure like if it's been implemented, of course. Like it's interesting. I'm come from Osijek as well. I'm next to Novi Sad, so I understand the situation. I supported students, etc. But yeah, it's interesting to see. Like,
I mean, U.S. gave us 14 million for like improvement of public procurement process, you know.
Yeah, so that's where the money comes.
I mean, 14 million, you know.
Yeah.
Like, and we still have like 3 companies getting all the government jobs, you know. So it's all optics, like they're just pretending. So, sorry.
Cool. Thank you.
So I'm from Germany, and I have the feeling that the German media does not cover it at all. Do you know the reasons why?
Yeah, I mean, our president promised like a whole piece of, probably like 5% of territory of Serbia promised to be turned into a lithium mine, you know, that would mainly benefit German car industry, you know. So this is like a very big carrot on the stick from Serbian government to German government, you know, and it's in their best interest to keep this guy instated, you know, so this project wouldn't be shut down, which most people would like to. You know, that's just one example. So basically what this guy was doing, like the way he was buying international support, or at least like neutrality, was by giving them stuff, you know, like giving our land for various foreign needs, you know, and that's how he created like incentives for them to shut up and basically like let him run the show, you know. So this project in particular is very important to Germany, you know, although like 80% of people in Serbia do not support the project. They don't want another mine, you know, they don't want another destruction of natural resources. So, and I mean, I could talk about this all day, but we only have a few seconds left.
We actually don't have any seconds left, but we're going to let another question.
Thanks for sharing, Nenad. You're truly an inspiration. Obviously, in Croatia, we're very interested in the situation. It's hard to get information. How do you see this playing out in the next few months? What is your prediction?
Well, I think, like I said, I think if I'm going to be very detailed and concrete about what's going to happen, I honestly believe that students are just going to create a political party or some sort of list or whatever the entity would be, I don't know, and that they're going to win the election, and that we're literally going to have like students, like 20-something-year-old people like running the country. And why I believe that's good is because these guys are all idealistic. They never experienced corruption. And with current Serbian situation, like just bringing us into to the point where we have government that doesn't steal and that is not corrupted, even if they make like so many like political mistakes that come from lack of experience. Let's say that all their like kind of foreign policies be stupid, like we're still gonna benefit highly just from the fact of no corruption, you know, and cleaning up the judiciary system and basically just not having anyone steal anymore, you know. We don't need like foreign money, we don't need EU, we don't need the US, we don't need anyone. We just need that we don't have internal theft anymore, you know, and all of a sudden we're gonna get huge prosperity in every possible way, you know. So that's why I believe that even someone who doesn't have political experience, if they approach it from kind of good faith, that we're still going to highly benefit from that. So, and that's what I believe that, and most people believe the same thing, and that's why they're going to vote for any sort of political option that is created by students. So, hopefully I responded to your question.
We have time for one more, and that's it.
Just a short question. For how long do you think the current government will be in charge?
I don't know, maybe, I think they're months. Yeah. I think months, tops.
All right. I think we'll
I think this can go on for an entire afternoon, but we have to stop. Thank you both for this conversation. Round of applause.
Thank you. Hvala. Super je bilo.
Thanks.
And before everyone leaves,